Invite to speak. Tom,
Hey,
you're
hey.
on.
Morning.
How
Hey,
we
Charlie.
doing, everybody? We are live.
I got a little bit of back feed, I think, Tom. Let's see, maybe I do. Nope, seems pretty good. You talk, Tom.
Hang on. All right, so we should be good now. No back feed. You should be able to hear me fine, right?
I hear you good, my man.
Awesome sauce. So we are live. Went live about 52 seconds ago. We're live on live from Clubhouse and on Clubhouse, podcasting, publishing, and social media. We're live across like a whole bunch of platforms. I even added Twitch this week because why not?
Okay, so tell Tom, what is Twitch?
You know, I mean, Twitch is mostly a live streaming platform that people use primarily for game streaming. But you know, that's what it is. It's a live streaming platform. A lot of the lives that people do on there are, you know, really long. You know, like hours and hours and hours. People will go on Twitch and stream for like 4 or 5 hours straight, right? As they're playing games, and they'll talk to people on Twitch and they'll interact with them. And I was like, you know what? It can't hurt to open up a Twitch account and get on Twitch as well. So that's what I did. So I set up a Twitch account yesterday, and we're live on Twitch. So we're live on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Twitch.
Tom,
and Clubhouse.
Hey, look at that. And did you said LinkedIn?
Yes. Yeah, we're live on LinkedIn.
I still got myself a little back feed here, but who knows? Okay, first of all, I wanted to say Tom figured all this out, how to live stream all these places. So on my YouTube channel for the first time today, he helped me hook that up. I sent him 50 messages. He said, Dominick, why don't you just learn how to Google stuff on your own? But he was very patient with me, as he is. Really, he sent me articles and things like that. So I'm appreciative. But I want to say the one thing about hopping in on a Clubhouse and doing video with a guy that was nominated for 2 Emmys. Tom always looks so good, perfect, right? I'm so jealous of the look, the lighting. A couple of weeks ago, I looked like I had lost 50 pounds. The next week, I looked like I gained 50 pounds. But Tom is always spot on. So if you're looking to do some video, I would definitely call him because he knows what he's talking. He knows how to look better, make you look better. So he's doing a good job. All right, Tom, we should meet some people. Let's go. And
yeah, let's do it, man. Let's get this room moving.
Okay.
Do your thing.
Okay, we've talked. All right. Well, let's go. We're going to go ladies first. And Dr. Tachi, the idea today, one of the things I was thinking about was we were talking about brand and how do we know that your brand is on mission? How do you know you even have a mission? So would you speak to that, Dr. Tachi?
Ooh, can you say that again? How do you even know you have a mission?
How do you know you have a why? How do you know you have a mission? How do you know you have a brand? You seem to be killing it on all your platforms right now. And I get Dr. Tachi does video. Dr. Tachi does publicity. I'm a fan of what you're doing. How does somebody know that they're on mission?
That's a great question. Well, I can speak about it from my perspective. And for me, when I, go to sleep and then I wake up in the morning, I'm like, oh yeah, I can do this, I can do that, I can talk about this and talk about that, and it's related to video or it's related to something else I do. That's how I know I have a why, because I keep coming up with ideas to better or to assist other people, better what I do or to assist other people. So for me, that's how I know when you are constantly thinking about it and constantly coming up with ideas to make it better or new or refreshed. I think that's when you have a why.
That's a good one. When you're constantly thinking, my dad is 79 and he's been in the landscape business for really 55 years, maybe longer, something wild, because he worked for his brother. So he could have been in it 60 some years. But even to this day, if we make it better every day, even to this day, Dr. Tachi, what you're saying, I'll talk to him and he'll be like, oh, I'm going to change this area. I'm going to get another greenhouse. I'm moving the arborvitae to the greenhouse over the winter. So what you're saying there really resonates with me. So how do you make sure do you have to make sure you're doing it, or is it something where you just wake up and the ideas are there?
Yeah, the ideas are there. It usually comes to me. It either comes to me or it like appears in some way. Like I'll be maybe watching something, I'll be reading something. It'll be that's it. That's what else I need to. So it just reveals itself. It could be that I'm putting myself in spaces that deal with the different things I'm interested in and that I'm working on, and so those things more easily come. So I think when you're putting yourself around what it is that you're trying to do, those ideas will come more. They just don't materialize out of nowhere. Often you have to put yourself in the right places and the right spaces for those things to happen, and then things start to come also on their own. So you've been in the right place in the right space, then you're in bed, you're like, oh yeah, and those things come to you because you've already been exposed. So that's just my experience.
Dr. Tachi, that's excellent stuff. I'm going to keep you up here if you don't mind sticking around for a while. So this is what we do. I'm going to refer to my experts, Charlie, David. Tom's always by my side. So you guys throughout the show will pull people up. What happens on Clubhouse is it's like we're live streaming this today. And one of the things that happens on Clubhouse is you invite people in, and I consider it like traditional radio because somebody might listen for 5 minutes, they might listen for 10 minutes, they might listen for an hour. They can get out of their car, come back in and listen again. So you never know who's going to be in the room, what the subject is going to be, and it just goes and goes. Hey, Billy, well, I'm glad you're here, man. Always appreciate loving your videos, man. This guy makes the best. His videos are so spot on about when you want to, like, if you're working to get subscribers or if you're trying to make money from your podcast or something like that. Anytime he gives advice, it's something that you want to grab. Charlie, my man, this is an inspirational guy. So Charlie, what is the message you are trying to share? Do you have a brand? Do you have a message? How are you doing that, my friend?
I'm doing good this morning. I do have a message, and my message comes from a position of having tried everything in my life to try to find happiness, um, success, and I finally, after all that I've been through, realized that success starts by having a gratitude list every day. Every day. Because, for one, I'm a human being and I have a disease of ingratitude. So I must be reminded of what I'm grateful for. And that starts the day out. And I often refer to my list that I have on the counter of the things I want to get done. And I really have to answer to that because in my mind, it circulates. On paper, it becomes a reality.
I'm watching you do it, my friend, and I see it's almost like this law of attraction with you. And sometimes Michael Lozer stops through, who wrote the law of attraction. But I see you put in this message out to the world, and it seems like it is starting to, what would you call that? Just like minds being attracted to you, or people are gravitating towards your message.
I am very happy that people are gravitating towards it because it's really a simple message of love, number one. And I'm a former death row prison officer, a trash company owner, and a New York native. So for me to come to the realization that this is the number one thing and to give people a platform in my life that they can be heard. I just want to say this. I'm taken back by my story with my dog. I from people that are religious, from monasteries, to yesterday, John Gotti's former hitman asking for me to come on his podcast because of my message. I mean, this is stuff that just did not happen when I did not materialize emotionally, mentally, spiritually this message. So it's being received by people across the board.
I feel you, man, and you allowed me the opportunity to do a little bit of reading and I've been following you here, and you allowed me the opportunity to read a bit of your story, and super inspiring. And it has me thinking about some of the things you've been saying, some of the stories, and wanting to share them. So I hope that you'll continue to be out there sharing those stories as well.
I will be. Thank you. And then I'm here to listen. I learn a lot by listening.
Okay, stick around. You want to meet David Campbell? He's a absolute inspiration. Tom, I had the opportunity to be on David's show the other day, and this guy takes his time with the questions. Sometimes I've been on interviews where they ask you 10 questions and you're off, and maybe that's because I'm no good. But in David's case, even if I wasn't any good, he's asking these questions and making me feel so warm inside and important that I would encourage anybody to listen to his show. So, David, you know what we're doing here on the show. So ask a question, drop a tip for branding, or just tell us what you got going on.
Hey guys, hey everybody. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Dom, for the kind words. It was great to have you on the podcast. You're very easy to interview, Dom. You just bring the inspiration every day and everything you do, and I thank you for that. I think when you mentioned the word why and knowing your why a little bit, I kind of clued into that. And for me, when I know my why, it helps me to filter out everything that doesn't fit. So instead of being distracted by all the bright, shiny things in life that might detract me from my message or my goal for the day or my goal for my business, my life personally, when I know my why, it helps me to filter that out, get rid of the noise, and be crystal clear on what I need to do next. So it's for me, it's like my coffee filter. It's all the grinds out of my drink, and I have a nice cup of coffee like I have in my hand at the moment. My why is my filter, and I use it every day. Thanks, Tom.
David, how do you, and this is we started off with this question, but as like whether you're a brand, whether you're a business, whether your business is a brand, whether you're a personal brand, you're starting something, how do you know that how do you even know that you have a why, or how do you know that your why could a why be wrong?
I think a why can change over time, and it can adapt and grow and mature. But I think that if you start anything in life and you don't know your why, I think you're a little bit lost to begin with. Like for example, I've had helping other people with podcasting, for example, and they don't know their why. They want to do a podcast about everything, and you can't be everything to everybody. So by just scaling down and focusing on what you need and where your passion is, I think that, for example, will help alleviate some pod fade where people just run out of ideas because they run into battle and then they're like, what am I doing here? So by knowing your why, I think just crafting that, reviewing it, it becomes your filter. For example, for our business, we take things people throw away and we turn them into something new. So we only use repurposed materials. So when somebody comes in my store and says, I'm a vendor, I buy stuff from Home Depot and I make stuff out of it. Can I be in your store? My why, my filter says, sorry, we only use repurposed items. So it gives me the ability to say no without the guilt or the hesitancy that I might normally have, where I'll be like, well, I'll give them a chance. But no, my why is my why, and that's what keeps me grounded and focused.
David, man, you're always spectacular. Tom, how we doing with the live stream here? What are we hearing? Tom set us up with a live stream. He knows all about whys too. So, Tom, where are we at with it? Is anybody on it? Does it work? Can you hear us?
It's working. We had some viewers on Facebook, on my Facebook feed a little while ago. We don't have anybody watching the live stream right now that's showing up on either Facebook or YouTube. There may be folks watching it on Twitter or LinkedIn or Twitch. But unfortunately Restream doesn't track that right now. It's just telling me that we don't have any viewers on Facebook or YouTube, but we're streaming a bunch of other places. We may have other people watching it right now. And regardless, this live stays up after the fact. So, this live will be up on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all those places, after the fact. And I'm sure we'll get some viewers kind of tuning in and checking it out there. I did have something I wanted to say about the conversation we're having about talking about your why and getting clear on your brand, and what your why is, what your messaging should be. And one of the things I wanted to talk about, something that's come up recently, and I'm going to do some other content around this idea because I think it's something that's really important, is I want to encourage people to create content that feels authentic to them, right? That they feel comfortable with, that they feel authentic creating. And what I mean by that is there's a lot of, if you go online, you start doing research, you're looking around going, what kind of marketing content should I make? Should I make videos? Should I do long form text posts? Should I be posting on Facebook? Should I use GIFs? Should I do this? Should I do that? Right? And there's all kinds of sort of conflicting information about what kind of content you should be putting out for your brand and on social media, and how you should be sort of delivering those messages, right? And getting that why out to your audience, right? And we just got a comment from Dr. Tachi on YouTube. She found us on YouTube, so that's awesome. Thanks, Dr. Tachi. So anyway, really what it comes down to is I think people should be creating content that is authentic to them, right? Content that you believe in, content that you are comfortable with, content that you feel you can really get behind, right? And not content that you think somebody else wants you to make, right? So make the content that you feel authentic stepping into. It's incredibly important that you do that, because if you don't, if you try to create content that somebody else pushes you in a direction towards, at the end of the day, what that means is that your audience is going to be able to tell that your heart's not really in it. You don't believe in what you're talking about. You don't believe in what you're saying. You're not committed to the message, right? And that's incredibly important. So I think authenticity starts with finding content streams, content methodologies that work for you. So for example, for me, I love being live, right? I love talking to people. I love being in front of people. So here we are, we're talking on Clubhouse, right? We're streaming on all these different platforms. We're live all over the place. If you follow me on social media, you'll notice over the last couple of weeks, I've been putting up some live videos. I'm going to continue doing that, speaking about and sharing some advice and some thoughts on the work that I do and how I think people can improve their content and the way they're communicating with their audience. And I'm doing that because it feels authentic to me, right? So I could write all this stuff out long form. I could create long blog posts and stuff like that, but that's not really me. That's not what I want to do, right? That's not what feels authentic. And so I'm just not going to do it. And at the end of the day, I'm going to find the audience that identifies with and understands and appreciates the authenticity that I'm putting out on the content. And that's the audience that I want to interact with. That's the community I want to be a part of, right? And so that's what this is all about for me. And that's what I think other people should be having in the back of their mind when they're thinking about, sharing content, brand messaging, and getting clear on their why. What feels authentic? What do you think about that, Tom?
Tom, I love the message, and that's the space I live in. So you will see me out, you'll see me out playing horse with my daughter, right? Or playing air hockey in the basement and making videos about it. Or the people that I go out and interview, I might interview somebody that is in studio wrestling but there, to me, inspiration's everywhere. So my authenticity is, I think spending time with my daughter, there's inspiration in that. I think going out and watching somebody compete in a competition, that's inspiration. So for me, it's always sharing. If I can share that story, help somebody share their inspiring story. Maybe they didn't have a voice before, and I can give them a voice. I can give them a platform. For me, that's what it's all about. But to counterpoint Tom, I've been scared of live. So I'm not somebody that's overly comfortable with live. When I had a podcast back in the day, I used to have to go live, and it scared me because the way it was back in the day. And then, so now I do a lot more video because I like to be able to control, if you're watching on YouTube or something, I like to be able to control people's lips and make sure that the words hit right on that kind of thing. And then sometimes when all goes bad. And I went to New York City one time, and I thought, I'm going to make the best video, Tom. This is how I thought. I'm going to go right to Times Square. I'm going to make the coolest video. Here's me in Times Square. What I didn't realize is all the buses were coming by, the horns were honking. Nothing I said was audible. And it was, so then I realized, well, so that having control over that platform. But we need to meet some new people. It looks like Meg has a lot happening here. I'm looking at my Clubhouse screen. This is me getting real close to it. So I'm going to look at Meg. Let's see, full profile. Meg, harmonywithfood.com. I need that. Free healthy dinner recipes, shopping list, healthy snacks. Okay. Meg, what are your thoughts on branding, your message, your why? Any tips or any questions
Yeah,
for us?
yeah, sure. So, obviously, I'm a registered dietitian. I've been practicing for over 20 years. I have a radio show on iHeart, Providence. And I was put on this earth to change the way people think about food. And I have a real passion. I have no question about what's my why is to help people have a better relationship with food, because so many people, there's way too many people that have no business talking about nutrition doing so, and it's causing confusion. The poster child of losing weight and gaining weight is Oprah Winfrey. She gained $42 million on the first day she joined up with Weight Watchers, and who knows how much since. So there's a lot of people out there that shouldn't be talking about nutrition doing so. And so I decided after some interviews and things like that, that I wanted to do my own radio show. I started on AM and with Cumulus, but now I'm on FM with iHeart, and I do my show every Saturday from 11 to 12. And yeah, that's pretty much, I just know that people can have a much better relationship with food. And there's so many medications, like if Big Pharma wins, you lose. And there are way too many people on pharmaceuticals, and it's crazy. And the pharmaceutical companies are making so much freaking money. They're like legal drug dealers. And I want to change that. So that's my why.
Meg, you have a very specific why, streamlined why. I get it. How did you come up? How did you know that was your why?
You really want to know?
Bring it on. If it gets
Okay.
too bad, we can always cut you or
No,
mute you.
no,
Throw
no,
you to the
no. It's
audience. Go
nothing
on.
too bad. It's nothing too bad. So I read an article when I was 12 years old in a magazine about, eating healthy and stuff like that. And I thought, oh, what is this lady, who wrote this? And then it said she was an RD. And then I looked into the fact that that's a real job you can get working in a hospital. And I was like, that's what I want to do. But as I started to get older, I didn't really like working in the hospitals. So I started my own private practice. And one day I was sitting with a client, and you can't make this stuff up. And I thought somebody tapped me on the shoulder. And I looked and I was like, what the heck was that? And this voice said to me, you need to help more people. And I was like, huh? And I didn't say anything to my client because I was like, she's going to think I'm crazy. That night, I'm driving home from work, and I'm thinking, what does that mean? You need to help more people. You need to help more people. And I got this email, and it was from MTV, and it was a very messy email. It wasn't proper English. I'm like, I'm just deleting this. This is ridiculous. Then the next day, something said to me, go back and look at that email. So I checked out the guy who wrote it to me on LinkedIn. Sure enough, he was a producer for MTV, and they wanted me to film for a reality show. And after that, a lot of the local stations started calling me, and a lot of radio stations. And all of a sudden, I was like, you know what? I'm watching like a sponge. I'm watching these radio personalities do this. I'm like, I can do this too. And there's no shows on nutrition that I know of. At least in Rhode Island, there wasn't, and there still isn't. And I was like, okay, that is whatever that was, whether you believe in God or was a spirit or as an angel, something pushed me and told me that I needed to do more and get more out there. So ever since then, I've been on a mission. And my next mission is I haven't started it yet, but I do want to write a book at some point.
Well, I'm a publisher. I love it when I hear people saying they want to write a book. Anybody out there, take those steps, move forward. You have what it takes. If anybody, me and David had this conversation on his show the other day, that if anybody tells you you can't do it, they're lying. They just don't know. And you absolutely have the ability to do it. So just keep pushing forward. And Meg, we appreciate the message you share. Stick around as somebody's sharing your story. You may have some input for other people in the room.
All right. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for having me up on the stage, guys.
Go
Thanks.
on, Tom.
Thanks for that, Meg. And I wanted to speak into one thing that Meg just said. And I just wanted to highlight this. I put it up on screen for people watching the live stream, but I think it's important to recognize that your why is your mission, right? Those things are synonymous, right? So like for me, why I get out of bed every day, why I do what I do, why I work to accomplish what I'm working to accomplish is because I am on a mission to make the business world a better place, right? To fundamentally change the way businesses communicate with the communities that they seek to serve, right? I want to change that because I think it can be better. Okay. And so I'm working to change that right now. That's what I do every day. That is my why, right? And it's okay. I think this is something that Meg hit on, and I think a lot of people, and I know for myself, I was afraid to do, early on or earlier on in my career, I was afraid to own that I could be on this big mission, that I could have this lofty goal that seemed unattainable, right? And it's this mindset that I go back to all the time. And I say to people, I've said to people for years, like, if you shoot for the stars, then at least you might end up on the moon, right? Like, if you have to shoot higher than you expect to accomplish, or else you'll never get anything done, right? You have to aim high. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm aiming high. I'm aiming on changing the way businesses communicate with the communities that they seek to serve. I'm working towards that goal every day. In the end, am I going to have the kind of impact that I hope to have? I don't know, but I'm going to try. And that's what matters. The only way to guarantee that you'll fail at something is to never try at all. Right. So embrace that big mission, embrace having affecting change on your world and your community, because you can do it. Right. You can only start to do it if you embrace that mission and embrace that why. So I just wanted to share that on the back of Meg. I'll hand it back to you, Dom, and you can we'll keep the room moving. I thank you, buddy.
Okay, let's make this happen, Tom. And appreciate those words, man. You got me. If you want to run through a wall now, like I do, so thank you, Tom. It's great to. It's Jim Rohn that says you surround yourself with. If you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and so Tom, inspirational. My buddy Brian P. Swift there, David, Dr. Tachi, Fly Tie, Jimmy Aj down there. The only guy without a bio that will always be by my side. That's Jim with the picture down there. Jim's helped me from day one with Motivation Champs and helping grow the platform where we share 24/7 inspiration. So, but I'll get that guy to get a bio at some point. A guy that has a bio and it's always Fly Tie. I think I said Fly TY back in the day, but it's Fly Tie. So
yeah, you got it right.
I see. I'm following you now. I'm watching what you're doing. This guy, he's got a fashion sense. Dr. Tachi, what do you think about Fly Tie's fashion sense?
It's just beyond. I'm drawn to the green right away. Awesome.
Yeah, he's got something going on, and he wears it well. So he taught us about confidence one day. So Fly Tie, branding, message. How do you know you're just starting out? You want to do something. How do you even have a message or a brand? Where do you start?
I say it all starts with your passion first, then your mindset. So once you have passion and mindset, you're gonna become successful in any kind of industry that you are part of. You know what I'm saying? So once I realized my passion for fashion, then I just brought along my positive mindset along with that. And then, like people say, in order to get to where you gotta be at and achieve, you gotta do stuff that people scared to do. So I took risk in life to be successful where I'm at. You know what I'm saying? So at one point in time, I wasn't a people's person. I was always to myself. I didn't know how to approach people. I didn't know how to network with people. And I just broke out of that nutshell. But it all falls back to who you surround yourself with. I surround myself around winners who was out there doing it before I did it. And once I seen how they maneuver, I took what I learned from them and I just applied my own with it. And then that's how I became successful in my own lane.
Hey, Fly. So there's a lot of people out there that I'm looking at your picture right here. Close up, yeah. Nice smile. So for the people that are afraid to step out of the box, they're like, well, that's for those outgoing people, or that's not for me. How do you take that first step when you think that I can't do what Fly's doing? I can't rock a green hat and a green shirt and be so
You just
confident.
gotta be yourself. That's all. Just be yourself and go to a stylist that you could trust. Because with a stylist, it come with a trustful relationship. Once you trust your stylist and anything that he puts you in, you won't feel like you won't look right. You know what I'm saying? That's why, like, when I work with clients, I make sure they have a trusting relationship with me. I don't just work with anybody just for the bag. I work with people who have a relationship first.
Got it, my friend. Thank you. I love that you're busy out in the world making stuff happen, and you still have time to stop by and hang out with us. So you are the man. Okay, we got Tom. We got Brian P. Swift on the phone down there, and so what do you think about the? Since you're a guy, Tom, that has a look, right? A consistent look, meaning dark background, the clothes you wear, is that a part of the brand? Is look part of the brand? What all encompasses the brand?
I mean, to some extent, yes, right? Like it has become, as I've kind of stepped into it over the last few years, my look has become synonymous with my brand. It all started with the idea that I wanted to get some branded merch when I first started my business, right? And I decided that um, if I wasn't going to rock my brand, right? Like if I wasn't going to wear my hat with my brand on it, then I could never expect anybody else to do it, right? And so I was like, I've got to lead by example. I've got to show pride in this and share my brand and wear my brand, right? Because I'm proud of the work that I do. And so that's how it started, right? In terms of like my setup, on camera here, how I look, that's because look, man, it's something called the halo effect, and we can dive into that a little bit at some point. But like, it's something called the halo effect, right? And at the end of the day, I own a video production company, right? So I have to show up on video looking like I know what I'm doing. Right. It would be like, a chef showing up with like, showing up to somebody and like, bringing over McDonald's for dinner or something like that. Right. Like, I mean, you have to represent what you do. You have to embody what you do and who you are. And so I have to show up. And I'm happy to show up looking the way I do on camera. Right. I mean, obviously, I get a kick out of it making you jealous. Cause that's always fun. But seriously, in all seriousness, when I show up to a meeting on camera, looking the way I look, the instant reaction from the person on the other end of that call is, okay, this guy knows what he's doing. Right. Instantly, as soon as they lay eyes on me, if anybody's watching this live stream, like you can see that I've put effort into how I look on camera, right? I've done the best I can with what I was given in the facial feature department to make myself look as good as I can on camera. And that's because I want to make that impression on people. I want people to understand when they get on a call with me, potential clients, right? If it's a sales call or something like that, I want people to know that they can trust that I know what I'm doing, right? And Dr. Tachi, she just commented that my look is an A+. Thank you, Dr. Tachi. I appreciate that from a fellow professional in the media world. Really appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, it makes a difference. How you show up makes I know Dr. Tachi puts effort into how she shows up on video, right? And it's because we understand it makes a difference. It's the same reasoning why when you go in for a job interview, you make sure you look good. You don't have a mustard stain on your shirt, right? Like if appearances didn't matter, then you would just walk in sweatpants and a mustard stained t-shirt. I don't know why I picked mustard, but a mustard stained t-shirt, right? I guess apparently I was, thinking about eating a hot dog or something, right? Before you walked into a meeting. But yeah, it's why you don't do that. It's why it matters, right? That's all. It all goes to the halo effect. And if anybody's interested, we can dig into that and how the halo effect impacts the way people see us in the world. But yeah, I mean, 100%, it makes a difference. When I show up to a meeting, I stand out, and I want to stand out. I stand out in a good way, and I want to do that. Right. So that's what I'm doing.
You're doing great. I was in a men's group. We were in over COVID. That's where I met Tom. Over COVID, our good friend Christopher Worth got this is early in COVID. He got where nobody could go out, like early 2020. And we would meet like every Thursday night, about 10 different guys. And here's Tom, I'd be down in my basement in sweatpants with a mustard stain on my shirt. And Tom would show up as you see him today, and always raise the bar. I'd think I needed to do some push-ups and comb my hair before I got on camera with him. Tom, let's meet. Hold on. Let's go back to Dr. Tachi, since you referenced her, and I even watch. If you've never, I watch Dr. Tachi's videos. I even watch her pre-show. She has a pre-show that's cool before her show. She should have, Dr. Tachi, you should have a pre-show to the pre-show. But what would you give as some tips to show up as your best self, Dr. Tachi?
So first of all, you're trying to give me more assignments. A pre-show to the pre-show, Dom. So in terms of showing up in your best self, I mean, I'm right there with Tom. Everything I do, it seems I co-sign on what Tom says. It's like if you're a video person, even though it can be a pain, especially if you don't have a dedicated studio space, for example. You want to make sure that you show up how you would if you were doing your show, even if it's, quote, just a Zoom call, or it's, you're showing up on IG Live and you're, only able to use your phone. Well, make sure that it's lit well. So whatever it is that you're doing, and I'm speaking about video for me in this case, show up your absolute best by making sure your lighting is good, making sure your sound is good. Because what I've noticed is that even with a lot of YouTubers that I follow, they will have beautiful video, but then we hear the echo of the entire room, and that's because they neglect the sound. So don't neglect parts of it. Don't show up in one area and not show up in the other. That's like going to a job interview with a fancy blouse or a jacket and shirt, and then you have shorts on the bottom. Do it all the way or don't do it at all. That's what I say.
I got to say one thing to follow up on what Dr. Tachi was talking about there with the audio. That is a huge point. People always neglect it. Dom, you kind of touched on this before, where you would film something and then when you watched it back before you posted it, when you were going to edit it, you realized you couldn't hear anything. And so what did you do with that video, right? You didn't use it, right? You didn't post it, right? Because you recognized right away that audio plays a crucial role in video content. If you are on video, up on stage, doing a live, doing whatever you're doing, right? If you're on video and people can't hear you, or you sound like you're shouting, through down, from the bottom of a barrel, right? Like there's all kinds of echo and room noise, and there's all kinds of things going on if the mic is a mile away from your mouth, right? Fix that, because no one will watch your content. If you are on a laptop and you're like 8 feet away from your laptop and you're using your laptop camera, nobody's going to be able to hear you. You're going to sound like you're shouting from the bottom of a barrel. They're not going to listen. They're not going to watch your video. People will turn off a video, even if the video looks great, with terrible audio, right? So make sure you can be heard. And how do you do that? You test, right? Test it. Test it, make sure it works before you actually go live, before you actually get up in front of people, right? Test. I was in a Zoom meeting, a group Zoom meeting with a business networking group, and a guy was doing a presentation in front of the group, and he couldn't figure out how to share his screen. And all I could think was, why didn't he test it? Right? How unprofessional of him to show up in this meeting knowing that he had to do a presentation, and he didn't test to make sure he knew how to do the one thing he had to do, right? The one technical thing he had to do, which was to share his screen. He didn't know how to do it. We wasted like 10 minutes of the meeting trying to help him over Zoom understand how to share his screen, when in reality, he could have spent 10 of his own minutes and not wasted our time by watching a YouTube video, doing a little Google research, watching a YouTube video and learning how to do it and testing it on his own, right? So always test, and make sure that people can hear you clearly. Like we had an audio issue with last week's live stream, and we're doing it a little bit differently today because of that audio issue. I wanted to make sure that the audio was better this time. So what did I do between last week and today? I tested it. What did we do on Monday, Dom? Right? We got on a call and we tested it to make sure things worked. You got a new camera. So what did we do? We tested it, right? We even opened a private room on Clubhouse to make sure that it worked and we knew how to do it, right? So you test. It's what you got to do. You always got to do that. Always test. Always make sure that you're ready to go before you actually go live. So I just wanted to throw that in, Dom, on the heels of what Dr. Tachi was saying. Back to you.
Excellent stuff. And that's what we do. You never know where the room's going to go. So for people that have, if this is your first time joining this room, we thank you. We're grateful to you to make this room what it is. But we talk building brands, we talk sharing your story, and that's the root of the room. So there's a million ways. I'm a believer that I'm a publisher by trade. That's what I do for a living. But I believe there are a lot of great ways to share your story. Clubhouse is a great way. Podcasting is a great way. Video, like Tom's in every day, it's a great way. So the key is, what is your story and how many ways can you share it? What are the best ways to share it? What's the most effective way? What's the right way for you? Maybe there's a place you're comfortable with. All right, let's see. Okay, I've talked enough, Tom. We have to meet. I think it's Aisha. What do we got here? I love your earrings. If that's an earring, that is impressive. So we are talking building brands. If you have a question, if you have a tip, what do you have for us?
Namaste, everybody. Thank you for having me. Actually, I'm just here listening and learning, and I appreciate everything that everyone has to, put their 2 cents in or whatever. I'm kind of new to the podcasting world, but I'm enjoying and learning. Thank you.
Excellent. We're glad you're here, and so we have excellent podcasters here. We're probably you'll meet some nationally syndicated people. Dr. Tachi, who said Meg? You said you just got a new show, right? Or got picked up somewhere else? What advice would you give for somebody? What advice would you give for somebody just started, Meg?
I would say that start by trying to get yourself out there, maybe through using something like Hero, Help a Reporter Out. That's gotten me some of the authority that I have. And also, be open to being a guest anywhere, and possibly, I didn't, in my background for, as far as school and education and everything, had nothing to do with the entertainment industry, but I didn't let that stop me. So I think that that's something that, a lot of us as professionals and who have a why and know their assignment on this earth really need to get that information out there to people who need it.
Thank you. I do have a question. I just remembered, if you guys don't mind. Um, I'm I'm gonna be co-hosting a new podcast with a friend of mine who actually lives in a different state. What do you guys recommend as far as apps or tools that would help make that a little easier?
Dr. Tachi, what would you think?
So I love this question because there's a number of different ways that you can go. We use something called Cast. So the web address is TryCast. So it's try and then it's dot try ca and then .st, and that allows you to record across distances. So that's a good one. We've had great success with that. There's also Riverside.fm, which allows you to do video as well as the audio, and you can have both feeds. And also StreamYard now, if you pay for the professional plan, I believe it is, you can separate out the audio, get 2 tracks. So you want a platform that's going to allow you to record 2 separate tracks. So if for some reason something happens, you can, and it's low on one end, you can at least manipulate the volume on one. So you definitely want that. So my suggestions are Cast, and that's TryCast, There's also StreamYard. You can try the professional plan, and you can do video and audio with 2 tracks, and Riverside.fm. So hopefully those are helpful.
Thank you so much. I'm actually on Riverside right now checking it out.
The other in terms of StreamYard, Restream, who's a direct competitor with StreamYard, very similar platforms, will also allow you to download multiple individual tracks. We're using Restream. The reason I chose Restream over StreamYard specifically was because Restream also has something called pairing. So for what we're doing today, that means that we're going live on not just my channels, but also on Dominick's channels simultaneously, right? And that was because this Clubhouse room and this live broadcast that we're doing we're not creating a new brand for this, right? This is Motivation Champs and Talex Media working together. And so we're on the Motivation Champs YouTube channel, we're on the Motivation Champs Facebook, we're on the Motivation Champs Twitter, and we're on my Facebook and Twitter and etc. All those channels, right? So yeah, so it really depends on what you want to use and what the different platforms offer. Their offerings are a little bit different, but for us, we decided Restream made the most sense because of that pairing option, so we could stream to multiple channels simultaneously. And so that was the goal. But yeah, so I hope that helps answer your question. I know some other folks in the room gave you some more specific or some broader answers, but I just wanted to throw Restream in there too, because I like that platform as well. I know StreamYard works really well. Restream has worked really well for us so far too. So like anything else, there's always a learning curve, but yeah, it's a pretty solid platform.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here. Thanks for asking a question. Dominick, tossing it back to you, buddy.
Okay, so what we're doing here, this is Clubhouse, podcasting, publishing, and social media. We do it when is it? Today's Wednesday. We do it every Wednesday morning. Now we started streaming. Me and Tom have this belief. We're talking about sharing content, sharing your story. Well, why share it in one place? Maybe multiple places. Maybe people aren't on, maybe not everybody's on Clubhouse yet. And this was a great way to introduce them to other platforms. And you're going to have users that are committed to LinkedIn or they're committed to YouTube. And this is a great way to share it on all these platforms. So anybody in this room, we're streaming. I see Dr. Tachi's face is going to show up on my YouTube channel. People are going to see Aisha there. Hey, now we move along. So anybody that has a question, or if you have a business question or branding question, storytelling question, please come up, raise your hand. We usually invite everybody because we consider it equal opportunity. If you have something to say, we're going to bring you up. Unless you don't have a bio. I do have a thought about, I have a thought about no bios, just because I want you to get a bio, even if it says, I just want to listen, whatever. At least we know that you're not a bot. That's my basic rule. No bots. Okay. Dion, I've been reading his bio here, Tom. So I like it. So listen, I'm going to read it to you. Here's how I used to like to read out loud. Some people in class, they don't read and they avoid that. And I thought, well, I'll start reading loud in class. And that was my first foray into sharing this muffled voice that you are now all hearing today. Dion is a 23-year-old entrepreneur with a vision. I'm a fan. I'm pushing follow. Okay, hold on. I like that already. As a young man who wants to elevate, I'm a student. Let's connect. If you have any real estate deals, he wants to buy, looking to learn, I'm in, man. So Dion, what do you got going on? Ask a question, drop a tip. Glad to have you here, my friend. You could be anywhere. I'm glad you're here. Thank you.
Hey, good morning. How you guys doing? Thanks for reading my bio, Dominick. But yeah, I'm just this is my first time in this space right here. I was interested because I saw podcasting and social media, and I'm in this space now where I'm new to just content creation. So like in January, I had recently bought some camera equipment and started up my YouTube channel, where pretty much I just share a lot of value-based content. teaching things that I know with some of the things that I've already done, as well as just trying to build up my self brand where people can watch me grow as an entrepreneur as well. Just I'm young. A lot of things that I'm doing now are new, so that's the space that I'm in, and I'm interested as well as maybe adding a podcasting segment to my YouTube channel, which is another reason why I kind of came to this room as well, to just kind of hear some of the information that you guys are sharing. So yeah.
Dion, how many videos have you put out on your YouTube?
So far I've been pretty consistent. I got about 16, 17 videos on my YouTube channel right now.
Are you on Instagram as well?
Yes. So I got my Instagram. I don't know why it's not on my.
Yeah, see, I was going to bust you on that, man. I love. Really, it's
I know
free.
exactly why that's not there. Yep, I remember why I was trying to. I think at the time when I was trying to do it, I forgot my password, so I forgot what happened. But I remember I was trying to get Instagram and Twitter on Clubhouse, and it just didn't let
To
me.
me, it's low hanging fruit. So, Tom, where I would go with this for you, Dion, is anybody in this room, when you first start off, social media is free except for your time. There are a lot of things that you could do that will cost you a lot of money, but you can post something. You could post a real estate article today. You could go on LinkedIn and post a real estate article. You could post a picture of a dilapidated house that you're going to buy, distressed properties I see you're into. All of a sudden, I know Dion talks about distressed properties. I know he's an expert in that space. I might go 100% in to distressed properties. And then now all of a sudden you, for free, could really continue to position yourself as an expert. So this is my tip for anybody starting out. And even Tom, I have a question for you. Do you know anybody that you have said, this person posts too much?
No, 100% no. And like, that's a common thing that comes up. People get worried about posting too much, but the thing to remember is it's not always the same people. Just because you see it, because it's your content, because it's your feed and your page, you see it all the time. Just because you see it doesn't mean that everybody sees it, right? So you are going to hit a new audience every time you share something. So don't be afraid about posting too much, right? Unless it's doing things like posting to groups and stuff like that. Like you'll get flagged for spamming groups and things like that. But just sharing content in your feed on social media, nobody is going to turn around and be like, dude, you post every day. What's up? Right? Nobody is going to say that to you. Everybody is going to be completely fine with you sharing content every day. And then the other thing I was going to say, Dion, is if you're making videos for YouTube already and you're doing a good job, I mean, I haven't seen your channel, but you said you bought some equipment. So obviously you're putting some thought and some effort into what you're doing, and you're doing a good job of recording both, good quality video and good audio. Then yeah, man, why not take that audio, pull that audio out of that video and make it a podcast? You've already got the content, right? Repackage and repurpose, right? That's what like my legendeering process is all about, is repackaging and repurposing. For some reason, people think they have to like create separate content for everything that they do. And I'm just telling you right now that this content that we're making right now, this live stream that we're doing on Clubhouse, like I get a recording of this at the end. I get separate audio channels for everybody in here. So I'll have a Clubhouse audio channel. I'll have my audio channel. I'll have Dominick's audio channel, right? And I'll get those separate audio channels. And then I'll be able to I'm going to be able to make a whole bunch of extra content out of this, right? So like I have plans to repackage and repurpose this, right? We can make this into an audio podcast really easily, right? We can put out a podcast out of this. All I got to do is lift the audio tracks and throw it out there, right? So like repackage and repurpose. If you're already creating video content, if you've got good audio, which you should have with that video content, you've already got a podcast, my friend. So yeah.
Tom, thanks for adding that. I'm just perfect stuff. David, what advice would you? David's back. I missed him when he was gone, but he's back. So I want to. What advice would you give to Dion that's starting, just about to start a podcast? Since you have a few shows out there, what would you do?
Yeah. So, thanks, Tom. I was just having an interview with a coffee app in New York City that rates eco-friendly coffee shops, which was amazing. So anyway, jumping back in, guys. So for a podcast for me, whenever I talk to a new podcaster, somebody on the journey of starting a podcast, is to know the why. My wife and I started our first podcast in October. We wanted to talk about everything under the sun. Quickly realized that we would not have a solid returnable audience if we talked about random things without a purpose and without a goal. So we started making other podcasts as well. And a podcast doesn't have to be 3,000 episodes in the rest of your life. A podcast can be 5 episodes on a topic you love, and beginning, middle, and end. So keep that in mind as well. But know your why, and know your audience. We actually have a picture of a person on the wall that we talk to during our podcast recordings as if they were there in the room with us. And we know in our mind who this person may or might not be, so that we can kind of speak to them as if they were there right in front of us. It helps. It gives you some visual cues, and it helps remind you that there's another person in the room doing your recording. So hope that helps. If you ever need help, let me know. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, David. Thanks, Dion. Go on, man.
Well, thank you guys so much for your advice. I appreciate it. And I also wanted to, note that I'm also interested on being on podcasts as well. And I just added my Instagram in my bio as well as you guys were talking. I just reset my password very quickly. So for those of you who want to go check out videos and see what I got going on, definitely check out my Instagram, because I do have content on my Instagram socials, as well as my YouTube channel that's in my bio on Instagram. So thank you guys for the advice. I appreciate it so much. And I'm looking forward to connecting with a few of you. So it's a great space.
Dion, I'm going to check you out. That's a nice tie you got on there. Look, nice knot you tied. So good work there. Okay, let's continue, Tom. We got more people to meet. We are discussing Clubhouse podcast. It's easier when I read it right off the thing because I always mess it up. So I'm reading it right here. Clubhouse, podcasting, publishing, and social media. I am interested in the biggest biceps in the room. It looks like New is pointing at his biceps. Tom, I can't get a peek on my biceps. I've been lifting weights for 25 years. Here, I thought he left us. New, 1, how do I get a peek on my bicep? 2, give us some tips or ask a question. The floor is yours.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I saw Dr. Tachi in here, so I thought I'd come in. I always like to hear what she has to say. I think she's really great. So hey, Dr. Tachi, I just came in to kind of hang out, man. I love coming into when I see podcasting or something, dealing with podcasting. I love to come in and just kind of get an idea of what people are telling people, or what people are talking about or discussing as it relates to it. I kind of do. Yeah, I've been working in radio for 31 years, and I'm a developer now. I've been developing software for apps for the last 12 years, and so I tend to do things much differently from most, which doesn't have to be better or anything like that. It just really works for me. So when I'm talking to people that come to me, I want to understand why they do what they do, and listening to different people who coach and stuff. It kind of helps me understand why people do things this way, when sometimes I feel like it definitely should be the other way or something like that. So I'm just happy to be in this space. That's all. Just hanging out.
New, well, we appreciate you being here, man, and thank you. So I'm looking at the bio. I can tell you're a successful guy in the industry. What tip would you give for somebody? And even since you said you do things a little bit different, what tip would you give for somebody trying to share their story? They think they have a story. They want to share it with the world, but they just don't know that first step. What advice would you give them?
Just do it. Just do it. That's all. Like, what else can you, like? Just do it. Right. That's all. It's I don't understand why people wouldn't, except for I guess some fear or something. But what fear of what? Like I don't know. So just do it. I would just say just do it. Just shut up and do it. Right? Just do it. That's all. Yeah.
Just shut up and do it, man. I love it. That's good advice. Okay, somebody that always making things happen. He just does it. Brother Bill, what advice would you give for somebody just starting out? We have a few people today that are they're early in the podcast journey. Maybe they're early in the book writing journey. What kind of advice would you give them?
Yeah, somebody just starting. If you're going to be doing interviews with people, figure out what your format's going to be. Is it going to be a half an hour, an hour? Could it be 90 minutes if you have an extra special guest? And one TV show I really love is called The Actors Studio, and I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's definitely worth a watch. Where they,
Bill, love it, man. Go on.
yeah, oh good, oh good. I got like slightly less than 3 hours sleep last night, so if I sound a little loopy, well, that's because I am. Anyway, so all right, so you know there are certain questions that are scripted by the guy, and he talks to famous actors and talks about the development of their craft, and then at the end, he has this famous set of questions that was developed by this, super interviewer, and so he has kind of his rote questions at the end that they have to answer in rapid fire. So you get to see kind of an unguarded um, version of the person. So one thing I always love to ask is origin story questions. Where'd you grow up, and what was the beginning of you getting started doing what you're doing? And that's really valuable to people because it can be inspirational. Because then people can compare themselves and say, "Oh, wow! I mean, he just uh, wasn't really doing anything, and then somebody asked him to podcast one time because they thought he had a good voice, and then he started doing it, and then everybody loved it, and it grew. Simple as that. Or hey, you seem like a fun guy to talk to. We're doing this podcast. We think you could contribute something. Let's give it a shot, see what happens. um, so then over time, kind of refine your questions. If you have some questions that turn out to be duds or unanswerable or kind of stump people, know when is the time to kind of push back past that and go on to the next question really quick. Um, so to kind of learn the flow of the person you're talking to, and make sure that you have a conversation with the person that you're going to be interviewing before that time, because I've had a couple of times where people just didn't answer the question with any real value. It was like I felt like I was inflicting an infomercial on my people, where everything was the secret sauce, and they weren't giving any value, and everything was held, until jump through their hoops that they have, and that's pretty frustrating because I don't want to listen to that.
Bill, what do you
I
think about when people come on your show and they try to just pitch you on everything they have going on? Like
well
they're
no
hard selling you on this, and this.
Well, no, I mean, I want them to sell something. That's what I want them to do. But we're going to save that to the end, and they'll just do a little pitch, and then all the people that love them are going to walk through that door. Um, I just don't think people should be pitching throughout the entire interview, and also not sharing something of value. I always tell my guests, you know, I want you to share, 3 to 5 actionable items that someone can do to make them better, because they listen to this. And then if you have 10 other things that are packaged, then, people are going to want more. So, um, anyway, I'll stop there.
Cool. Thanks, Bill. I wanted to jump in real quick. I wanted to reinforce something that Bill's saying here that I think is super important about being a guest on a show. And I missed a little bit of the last couple of minutes of conversation. I had to step away for a second. So if I'm repeating something that's already been said, Dom, feel free to jump in and tell me to shut my yap. But what I wanted to talk about was why it's so important that you do not, if you're a guest on someone's show, that you do not come on there and try to pitch your products or services, right? Why it is crucial that you don't do that. And the reason why it's crucial that you don't do that is because if you do that, then it will be clear to the host of the show and to the audience and everyone listening that you are there for yourself, right? That you are being selfish, right? If you get invited onto a show, you should show up to that show with the intention, the sole intention of providing value to the host of that show and value to their audience, right? That's what you're there to do. You're there to provide value to the audience, right? That's what your expertise, that's why you were brought onto the show. That's what the interview is about, right? Is providing value to the audience. So focus on delivering all the value you can. And then when at the end of the show, here's my personal recommendation. At the end of the show, when the host says, what do you want to, where can we find you? Where can people, get involved with your work or whatever? I would simply drop how to get in touch with you, right? That's it. You don't need to get specific. You don't need to get involved in selling anything, right? Because what you're doing then is you're attaching strings to the value that you delivered, right? And you don't want to attach strings because then it doesn't trigger Dominick's favorite word, reciprocity, right? So if you attach strings, it will not trigger the rule of reciprocation. It will not trigger reciprocity. So make sure that you just simply say, hey, look, I'm here to help. If anybody has any other questions, if they want me to clarify anything I said today, if I can help them in any way, feel free to reach out, right? Here's how you get in touch with me. That's it. That's all you need to do. If you've done an effective job of delivering value, then the people who are interested in becoming customers or clients, the people that are interested in interacting with you will reach out. It's not going to happen every time, but I think that's the best way to approach it. And then the other thing I'm going to say is something I put up on screen for the live stream. So anybody watching the live streams can see this, but folks on Clubhouse, obviously you can't unless you're also watching the live streams, which by all means, feel free to do that. Is the best interviews are conversations, right? So for sure, go into an interview prepared, right? Do your research, know who you're talking to, have a conversation with them beforehand, right? Put them at ease, make them comfortable, have an idea, know what you're going to talk to them about, know what the subject matters are, know some specific questions you want to ask them, but also be open to allowing the conversation to evolve, right? Do not try to stick to your list of questions. The worst interviews I've ever heard are when people simply have a list of like 10 questions and they're like, okay, next question. Okay, next question, right? Okay, next question means you weren't listening to anything I just said, right? Means you weren't listening and you don't care actually what I have to say. You're just here to ask your questions, right? And so if you really want to have a good interview as an interviewer, listen to what they're saying, allow the conversation to evolve, refer back to your questions. If you need to get the conversation back on track or bring it back to the subject material at hand. But the best interviewers are also fantastic listeners. So I just wanted to throw that out in case it hadn't been covered. I just wanted to make sure we got that point out. Thanks, Dom. I'm going to hand it back to you, my friend.
Can I add one thing?
Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, and so that's awesome because I mean, it could have been misconstrued what I was saying, but yeah, have your list of questions. But when you're listening, listen for the things that perhaps your audience might not understand. So it's the follow-up questions where maybe your guest was using some jargon, or maybe they said it in shorthand, or they said something really provocative and moved on. I'll give you an example. I was interviewing Johan Creek, two-time Australian Open champion, and he casually told the story. He just casually mentioned that he had beaten Guillermo Vilas and broken Vilas's 58 match winning streak on clay. And then he was just going to move on. So I was like, wait, no, stop. You have to tell that story. So think like your audience, and encourage your guests to break things down into somewhat more fundamental and consumable bits, especially if they're starting to throw the jargon around. And I'll stop there.
Thank you, Bill. Great ad, Tom. Great ad. Appreciate it. I'm going to go producer Jimmy. I miss her. And I thought she, as a producer of shows, as hosting a podcast network, I'm sure my buddy Jim the other day, he mentioned that he's heard some bad interviews. He called them stinkers and said David gives great interviews. He's a great host. So, producer Jimmy, what advice would you give as far as being guest? And then as far as a host, and based on the conversation here, then we're going to hit Brian and Shallant. So don't go anywhere than Joyce. So what do you got, producer Jimmy? And I always love hearing your voice and your smile. Glad you're here. Make sure you connect with her. Back channel. You should back channel everybody here. Connect, because Tom, we are all here for a reason. We're not always sure what that reason is, but if you connect with everybody and have that virtual cup of coffee.
100%, 100%. Use that back channel. Reach out for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, producer Jimmy, I've stalled long enough. Now drop this knowledge. The pressure's on you and off of me. So go on.
I see what you did there. Okay, so I've been listening in, and the advice that's been shared so far has been so fantastic. And I've been taking a couple of notes of what I wanted to share. So I'll start at the top. Advice on getting started. So if you're just getting started as a podcaster, you haven't launched your show yet, you're putting it together, thinking about it. I would say if you're at that stage, like the pre-launch stage, be a guest on some other podcasts, get comfortable with getting on the microphone. It also allows you to be exposed to different podcasters' processes in welcoming guests and working with guests and in preparing for a show, so that it'll give you ideas and what might work for you. And also, being a guest on other shows will help you hone your voice and your messaging. So when you show up on your own show, it feels a little more polished. It works out some of your nerves, all of that. The second advice for people getting started is to brainstorm your ideas. When I was starting my most recent show, Business in the Bedroom, show for entrepreneurs, I was like, do I really have what it takes to pull off the show? Do I really deserve, am I as knowledgeable as I think? So I said, I'm going to give myself 10 minutes and I'm just going to write down all the different topics that I would want to share on the show, what I've learned in my own small business journey. And by the end of the 10 minutes, my hands was cramped, but that list gave me not only a good runway of possible topics, but it also boosted my confidence and pushed down my inner imposter syndrome voice. So that's my second piece of advice for getting started. In terms of being a guest, I'll add to what Tom said earlier, because it was so good, by sharing kind of what I say all the time, which is that there are three people in the room, and the most important person is the one who's not really actually there. So it's you, it's the guest, and it's the listener. And the listener is the most important. So as a host, you want to make sure that you're gearing your conversation for that. But as a guest, remember to show up with that intention. Don't show up to sell your books and services. The host will mention at the end that the links are in the show notes. And if they don't, it's okay. You can still use that episode on your own website or whatever to promote your stuff. You don't have to do that, and you don't want to do that. It'll come off and cheapen the whole rest of the conversation. So you don't want to leave things off with bad taste. Instead, just say, hey, I'm here for the audience. I'm here to give value. And at the end, the host will ask me what my link is, and I'll provide it, and that's it. Then let's see. Ooh, I also loved what Bill had to say about thinking like your audience, because that is so crucial. When you're hearing your conversation, when someone's talking to you, pick up on what needs to be further explained or what might be really exciting and your audience will want you to lean into. Don't miss those great moments. And last but not least, I also want to add that keeping track while you're interviewing somebody in the midst of that conversation, keep track of things that you relate to. Actually, and it's very helpful if you do this in your prep and you're researching of somebody. If there's any touch points that you relate to that resonate with you, or you had a similar story, bring that up. You remember that the audience comes for the content, but they stay for the host. And as much as you want to have your guest be the highlight of the show, over time, the overall arc spotlight needs to be on you. So don't be afraid to bring in little moments like that and share yourself with your audience. But also, while you're interviewing someone, keep track of what they said earlier, because it could be a great opportunity to bring something back. As a quick example, and I can't remember the exact details, but I was interviewing, it was a long time ago, I was interviewing Chris Krimitsos, the founder of Podfest, about his book, Start Ugly. And he had shared, in answering a question earlier in the conversation, he had shared a story about his father's entrepreneurial journey. And so later in the conversation, something that he said about his own entrepreneurial journey really struck a chord, like, this is the same pattern as his dad. I wonder if he realizes it. And so I asked him, I said, do you think it's because blah, 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 your dad, da, 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 da. And let me tell you, it was so much more fruitful interview. He was so excited that he was being interviewed by somebody who was really listening. So all of that helps. So thank you for giving me so much space, Dom. I know I kind of sucked the air, all the oxygen out of the room, but I've been taking notes. This has been great advice so far. So thank you so much. And I'm complete.
That was
You never
awesome. Thanks, Jimmy. Always good to have you here. Really appreciate hearing from you. And of course, love the social proof. So thanks for backing up what I said earlier. Right, Dom? Social proof is always fun to have, right? It's always nice when somebody backs up something you say.
She never sucks the air out of any room, Tom. Like, in the thought that taking notes, like I'm sitting here taking notes as well, and hearing her say that, and then coming in. I was talking to an author yesterday who jumped in a Clubhouse room. Me and Brian P. Swift were doing a Clubhouse room, and this author, John Gardina, jumped in a room and in 2 minutes gave so much value, just like producer Jimmy. If it's because she's concise, she's on message, she knows her why, she knows what she does, she's passionate. So in that, it could be 2 minutes, it could be 5 minutes, she's going to nail it, where you can just take notes as fast as you can. So she did it. Excellent as always, Tom.
Absolutely. Excellent as always. Always good to have Jemmy in the room. Always excited to hear what she has to say and listen to her advice. She has a lot of wisdom and a lot of value to share. So appreciate her doing that here. Who we got up next, Tom?
Thanks, guys.
Stick around, Jimmy. We need you. Okay, up next, and I'm going to hit him up. This is you'll hear. I never make an ask. You'll never hear me make an ask. I just won't do it because I'm just out there all the time, doing my thing. So Brian P. Swift, an author, great author, great friend of mine. I've even slept over at his house. So drove to Chicago, slept over at his house one time. Took about a 9-hour drive. I've been there to his house a few times. Brian, me and you working on a screenplay. What is the thought behind the screenplay? Why did we have to write it? I mean, what's the bigger message involved there?
Well, thanks for the audience. Thanks for letting me follow Jamie and totally bury myself. I mean, how do you follow her? I mean,
Stop it.
That's a recipe. That's a recipe for failure if I've ever seen one. I don't have her smile. I don't have her energy. But Jamie, great message. I'm still taking notes. But back to your question, Dom. As an author, I've written numerous books on inspiration and motivation and how to get up after falling, because it happens to all of us. So it's a universal message. My story, I wanted to take even further, and this very creative, motivational man named Dominick convinced me, instead of going after a comic book, to make a movie script, which neither of us knew how to do. And that's okay, because you asked a question earlier, how do you move forward? How do you get started? You just do it. It's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So the two of us did a lot of research, did a lot of asking people questions, and we wrote a movie script based on a character called the Quadfather. And the movie script, it couldn't be a better time. We just happened to get lucky in a sense that it addresses a lot of social issues, along with is inspiring because it talks to the subjects of diversity and inclusion, and also talks, addresses this I can do attitude. I can be a hero for my friends. I could be a hero for my family. I could be a hero for myself. So, which we all need those positive and uplifting messages at this time. So we did it. I mean, we worked on it. We reworked it. We went back and forth. Is it perfect? Probably not even close. Is it better than it was 2 years ago? Yes. Dom, actually, that's why it was on and off earlier. I was talking to somebody that would like to see it, our script and our treatment. And so we just thought it was a great message. And we went to a place we've never gone, which was a movie script. And we got over our fears. We didn't worry about the what ifs, and we just did it. And as Dom knows me well, I am that just do it guy. 4 months ago, I had somebody come up to me and say, hey, there is a radio channel, a spot open on a very prominent local Chicagoland radio show. Would you like it? I've never done radio. I mean, I may have a face for radio, but I've never done radio. And I just decided to jump in and do it. And I had to learn, I had to adapt quick, but isn't that what life's about? Adapting, overcoming. And so far, we're kind of going into our second session of radio, and I'm learning. Just like Tom, just Tom, you were talking earlier, and a lot of this discussion was, whether it's a podcast or radio show, and I've learned a lot from so many. Make it about them, and I keep learning because those habits don't happen overnight. So it's great to hear so much wisdom from everybody here. I appreciate it, and I'm complete.
Thank you, Brian. I really appreciate you. I love partnering with you, being part of the Swift team. Check him out. And he has a nonprofit too that's raised, I think he's closing in on about $500,000 to help make the outdoors more accessible and providing wheelchairs, providing vehicles, that kind of thing. So really sometimes the mission is so much bigger. When you get down to that why, the mission is a lot of times bigger than selling a book or making $1. The mission is pure. And it's I think all of us really, it's helping other people, making that difference. And here's a guy that is clearly doing that. So
thank you, Dom. I appreciate it. And you're right. I mean, the books I wrote weren't to get rich, but all the proceeds go to my 501c3 nonprofit called SOAR. And what we do is we buy equipment for people to get out who with disabilities get outdoors. Being outdoors is therapeutic. It's magical. It's healthy. It beats any medication you could take. I've never seen somebody angry around a fire, around a bonfire, and insurance doesn't pay for all this crazy needed equipment. So we have been blessed to be going into our 6th year, and that's exactly what we do. And as I explained to Dominick, if this movie ever happens, or I should say when the movie ever happens, that a lot of proceeds will go towards helping people who need it far more than I do. So I've been blessed. Thank you for the time, Dominick, and everybody else for listening.
Brian, man, you're leaving us inspired. Tom early on had us ready to run through a wall. It was like 5 minutes after we started, he went on this like inspirational. I felt like he was going to set us up, and there was going to be music start playing and get louder and louder as he was talking. But Brian, definitely inspiring stuff. Okay, every Wednesday we talk Clubhouse, podcasting, publishing, and social media. Let's do some housekeeping, Tom. Never done housekeeping before, so let's do some housekeeping. There is a little thing, my buddy David Campbell told me about it, that little 2 lines. If you're ever in a room on the far left of your screen down at the bottom, you can share those 2 lines it's like two arrows and they look like they're making a circle. He said you can share those out and let people know that you're enjoying in a room. So if you're ever in this room and you enjoy it, feel free to share away. You can also, so many of you have come in here today and dropped major value, right? Where I'm thinking like producer Jimmy, like clip yourself, share. You can go on Clubhouse for people listening on LinkedIn or something like that. You can go on Clubhouse. Clubhouse now allows you to clip. If the room's set up for replays, which ours is, you can clip points of the conversation or you talking and make a 30-second clip. So Clubhouse is not single-use content. You are actually able to reuse the content. That's what that little the scissors down there mean. Okay.
Yeah, and
there's
Dom,
go
on
on.
that note, I just want to highlight something too that's really cool over on YouTube, because I can see some of the comments popping up over there, and I've been sharing a few of them on the live stream. Like Dr. Tachi has been over there commenting on YouTube. She said it's fantastic to be in the room with such talented folks. Upcycle Canada, throwing a little woot woot up on YouTube there for us. We've been having a little back and forth between Dr. Tachi and David over there on YouTube, commenting back and forth to each other and talking to each other. And I love seeing that. It's another way to interact, guys. So that's part of the reason why we're live streaming this show, this room now. People are calling it a show. I don't even feel like it's a show. It's a room, right? We're just here hanging out, talking content, talking brand, podcasting, publishing, social media, right? We're just talking to some friends and sharing some value. That's what we're here to do. But I love that people are interacting in the comments on YouTube. That they are, that they're commenting there and providing feedback there. It's another way to reach us too. If you want to share something or say something to us, we can put those up on the live stream, put those comments up on the live stream. If you have something you want to share on the live stream as well, always feel free to reach out. You can hit me in the back channel in the DMs, and hit me up there so we can share how people can connect with you and stuff, because that's, honestly, for me, that's what this room is all about. This room is about spreading as much value as we possibly can, right? Like I want to just rain value. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm here to do. So please interact, share it on other channels, use the clips feature, share the Clubhouse room, comment on the YouTube and the Facebook and the Twitter, and the Twitch streams and all those things. Let's get as much value to as many people as we possibly can. That's our goal with this. And I hope you guys will come along for the ride and help us out with it.
Hey, I got a quick question, guys, if it's all right to jump in. So how are you guys monetizing? I mean, I'm hearing a multitude of things that you're doing. Or is that a different show or something? If I'm out of place, let me know. I'm sorry. I don't want to go out of.
Oh no, let me be clear of you. There is, me and Tom are guys, and I speak for Tom, but you'll hear me. I never make the ask. There is no, we're on here with 80 people. There's not one time where Dominick has said, buy my book or come do business with me or anything like that. It's not what I do. I'm never going to do it. That's not who I am. So when my point, just like Tom here, is to add value 24/7. And so for me, I share inspiration, smiles, positivity 24/7, help other people do the same. So at my root, I'm a publisher. I help people write books. So if somebody wants to share their story a different way, in that way is publishing, well, we can have a talk another day. But but I believe in all these other platforms. I want my authors to be on here. I want other people to share inspiration. I'm getting inspired just hanging out with producer Jimmy and Brian and you with your big biceps there. So it's not a monetizing. I think I want to say, and this is my space, and I love it, Tom. So it is short-sighted for anybody to say, I'm going to start a podcast, I'm going to monetize it. I'm going to go on LinkedIn today and I'm going to monetize it. How about going on social and being social? That's my thing. I'm going to be on. I'm going to connect with you, and I'm going to follow you everywhere I can. And maybe in 2 years, you're going to be like, this Dom's a good guy, and we've had talks here, and here, and I'm in Pittsburgh, and this is going on. Let's do that. But there's never the quick ask. The quick ask is the killer. The quick ask is, I need a good analogy for that, but the quick ask is the quick death. So that's what I'm going with.
I
So
got you, buddy. I was just curious, and that sounds great, by the way. All that sounds great. I was just asking. Yeah. So thanks, man.
It's good. Go on, Tom.
No, appreciate that. Because I like to qualify that too. I like to be very clear on that. Doing this live has cost me money, right? There is like, I had to buy, and I'm using it for a bunch of different things. So I was happy to absorb the cost, right? Because I'm going to be doing some other things where I'm going to be using Restream, and so I was happy to pony up for the Restream Pro account that we're using. But like, it cost me, I don't know, about $500, to set this all up, something like that, right? And the reason that I'm happy to absorb that cost, that I'm happy to spend that money, is because I firmly believe that by doing that, I'm going to be able to have a broader impact, that I'm going to be able to reach more people, that I'm going to be able to improve the way people communicate with their communities on a broader scale. I think the single best way to limit the impact that I can have in the world, and the impact that I can have on my mission, which is to change the way businesses communicate with the communities that they seek to serve, the best way to limit that is to attach a string to it and say, you can only have it if you pay me first, right? And so I'd rather lead with that value, and share it as broadly and as widely as I possibly can, in as rapid a way as I can. And I'm doing that, on this room and off this room in other ways. I'm reaching out to some folks, and I'm actually, I give away my legendeering process all day, every day. I talk to people about it. I tell them exactly how it works. I'm not scared about being proprietary about it. I'm not nervous about people stealing my idea. I want them to use it. Please start using legendeering as an approach to content creation, because it's going to make everybody's interactions with businesses better. Like, I want people to embrace it. And the best way to do that is to not attach strings to it, I think.
That's awesome, man. You guys are awesome. Cool.
I have a quick question, and maybe it's not a question. Maybe it's more of an observation, but I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. I don't think the question was exactly, I think it was more generic in terms of, okay, if I do a podcast, what are you guys doing to help monetize it? Like, do you get sponsors? Do you, how do you do that? So I don't think it was, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think he was just kind of groping for, what do? You start this podcast, you're making traction, you're providing great content. Now the next step, how do you monetize it? Maybe I'm wrong, but I think that's
100%. No, 100% right, Brian. And I appreciate that feedback. And I want to make very, very clear. And I think I speak for myself and for Dom when I say this, that our responses to that question were not meant to be, to challenge new media, or to accuse, make any sort of accusations, or be confrontational. It just sort of, I think for both of us, it just triggered a strong desire to share that's our goal with this.
Awesome.
That it wasn't meant to be, critical or confrontational at all. And I totally appreciate new media. In fact, I'm glad he asked that question. I appreciate that, because the fact that he asked that question gave us an opportunity and reminded us that we should really share, our goals and our mission with this, and why we're doing this, why we're creating this content, why we're sharing it as broadly as we can. And that's because we literally want to rain value on as many people as we can with this content. And so I appreciate you asking the question, new media. Neither one of us meant to be critical or
and you know what,
like that.
I know you, oh, I'm sorry. And I know you weren't, and I wasn't asking as if, why aren't you, or shouldn't you be, or anything like that. It sounds like you guys are doing some amazing things. And I was like, wow, it just sounds like some stuff that, I just thought I'd ask. That's all, so I think it's great.
No, truth is, I mean, who wouldn't want to hang out with Dr. Tachi and producer Jimmy? So we get to come on Clubhouse, and if they stop in the room, we win, man. So that's the bottom line. But no,
The winner,
appreciate you being here.
winner's me. The winner's me hanging out with you.
Producer Jimmy, I tried to call her on Instagram one day. I love using it. Has anybody used the call feature on Instagram? It is so clear.
No.
I have an author in Dubai, and I call her in Dubai. It's the clearest thing ever. So I tried to call producer Jimmy. She didn't pick up. So
Hello.
Oh, I'm sorry.
okay, let's move on here. Let's see what we got going on. Swift, did you want to add something? You flashed off.
I'm sorry, I can't hear.
Okay, never mind. Hold on. Let's go here. Let's mute him. Sometimes you got to mute microphones. That's part of being an excellent moderator. We are going to first. My friend Jim Ajay came in this room 10 times and then left. So Jim Ajay, this is a guy that when Motivation Champs first started. I had an app. I failed 1,000 times, Tom, and so this was early on in social media. And early on, before social media, I started a website called successtrader.org. And I had this idea that we'll just share inspiration all day long. But as Tom will tell you, I'm not overly tech savvy. And I couldn't, like, I'd write a story about Lincoln or John Lester or somebody. And then I didn't even know how to share it or where that stuff went. It was the worst website. So after a year with like one view, I closed the website down. But on Motivation Champs, on like Facebook and stuff, 24/7, we share inspiration on Twitter, on Facebook. There's a community with about 3,000 people sharing posts all day. And early on, why I preface this, Jim is a dear friend of mine. And I said, Jim, will you post something today? And that's how it started. I'm going to post something. Would you mind post something? And he was one of my early supporters, and he's been a friend on every project we've ever done. I make sure this guy's by my side, even to like we helped give away turkeys over this Thanksgiving, and Jim was there helping so we could give away more turkeys. And there's hundreds of turkeys and things like that. And Jim at one point physically pulled me and said, Dominick, you should go talk to this group of high school wrestlers that came to help us out. And so I say all this because it is so important to have people that have your back by your side. Jim, get yourself a bio, but take your mic off, introduce yourself, ask a question, drop a tip. Go on, my friend.
Hey, everybody. I like to refer to myself as the Rob Schneider to Dom. Like, you know how Adam Sandler has Rob Schneider in all of his movies? I'm kind of like his Rob Schneider. I'm just a sidekick. So, but honestly, yeah, I've been friends with Dom for a long time. And one thing I noticed about Clubhouse in general, uh, while I would work, I would put on podcasts or watch YouTube clips or things like that as background noise. Clubhouse is actually a great alternative to that. If you can find a room like this that you like and you want to listen to, you don't even have to talk most times or get on stage. You can just listen. But one thing I learned yesterday that's interesting, if you click on someone's uh, face, like if you click on Tom, right beside the following, there's a bell. If you click on that, that will alert you anytime Tom is online if you like what he's saying. So I would strongly encourage you guys to do that for Dominick, for Tom, for anyone else in the room that you like. And that's my tip for the day. I'm done.
Thanks, Jim. Thank you, Mr. Jim Ajay. He is going to have a bio soon. Okay, my friend Joyce has to leave soon. I hope she's still here. Joyce, if you want to introduce yourself, drop a tip. We love it when you stop by. So go on.
Hi, Dom. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for the great nuggets that everyone's sharing. Really, really appreciate it. I loved what producer Jimmy was saying about when you're as a guest, just being aware that there are 3 people in the room. So you as a guest, the host, and also the audience. That really resonated with me. And I've recently just sort of started this journey of being a podcast guest. And I went to something called Podcast Prep School. And one of the things that I learned was around, getting the clarity on who your target audience is. So for me, I'm involved in a lot of different projects. But when I went to that prep school, I got the clarity on who my core audience was, and therefore the types of podcasts that I needed to be on. And what I got from that was actually it made me realize that I need to reprioritize the projects that I'm working on, and also to let go of some of the podcasts that I have been on in the past as panelists, because it isn't actually going to be aligned with my goal that I have for this year and beyond. So I hope that's some insight there to share.
Joyce, I know you got to run, but if you will do me the, how do you know if something's aligned with your mission?
That's a really good question. So, okay, for example, for me, I work in diversity and inclusion, and my ultimate aim is to help organizations or help leaders in tech companies to increase the representation they have in the digital content they produce. So, but I'm also involved in other things, which is around increasing representation, but the core audience wasn't tech. So for me, I had to then reprioritize what's most important. And for me, it's connecting with tech leaders, or should I say, senior leaders in the tech industry. So as a result, that now means that when I'm going to be going as a guest on podcasts, they need to be aligned with that. So they need to be podcasts that will be potentially in the tech sector. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, and you're very on message. So just wanted you to clarify that. So thank you.
Brilliant. Okay. Thanks very much for the opportunity.
Brilliant. I like that. Nobody's ever called me brilliant. So I hope you were saying that to me and not to Tom. I'm going to receive what you said.
I
Tom,
have to say really quickly, I worked for the BBC for a little over 5 years at one point in my career. And so I worked with a ton of folks from the UK. And I also I also actually later on in my career did a show where I lived in London for a couple of months for a British production company. And one of my favorite things, like kind of, speech idioms that the Brits use is the word brilliant. I love it. I love the way the Brits use the word brilliant. So it's one of those things, like it's ubiquitous over there, but whenever you think something is good, it's brilliant.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Tom,
love that.
I didn't even realize that was a British thing.
Yeah, it
So
100% is. Like nobody in the US uses that word that way. So it's it's entirely a British thing, but I love, it's one of my favorite things of British English is that use of the word. And I think Scotland and Ireland kind of follows suit in the British Isles there, but yeah, the use of the word brilliant, I absolutely love it. I just had to throw that in.
Cool. So then you're brilliant too, Tom. Thank you.
Well, and that's brilliant of you to say.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Well, this is a positive group here, so make sure we hope that we can offer, besides the tips and tricks of the trade and hope, but also some positivity for you, and that you connect, that you come here, that it is an escape for a bit, knowing that this is a safe place where we have each other's backs here. And like Tom said, there is no way we were trying to be disrespectful anyway. We have everybody's back, and we're glad you're here. We're thankful for it. We're thankful for you stimulating our conversation. So, Tom, we got more people to meet. We're going to speed around here. So, oh no, okay. We're going Hoot, Professor T, Michael. So, Hoot, drop a tip or ask a question. That's where we're at.
Hey, good morning. My name is Teresa Augustinelli, known as Prof T from Philly, where it's usually pretty chilly. And so I just kind of came in here. Michael next to me here, big fan of Michael Lozier. He pings me in. I noticed my friend Queen Karen popped in at the bottom there. She's got a lot of tips she could offer. My question would be, when you're doing a podcast, is it supposed to be expensive, or can you just do your own and kind of just make it a Facebook or YouTube type deal? Or does it have to be more um, particular and spectacular? Thank you. This is Prof T. I yield my mic.
I want to go quickly to Tom and Dr. Tachi on that, and producer Jimmy, if you want to ask.
Yeah, I was just going to say it does not have to be expensive. So for a very low upfront cost, and there's tons of, if you literally throw into Google how to start a podcast, there's going to be tons of YouTube content that people have created that'll walk you through step by step, give you lists of equipment to buy, how to start a podcast for the least amount of money possible, Google search, things like that. It does not have to be crazy expensive, and podcast hosting is not crazy expensive. Like, I think an introductory plan on somebody like Buzzsprout, which is one of the bigger podcast hosting platforms, is like $10 a month to host your podcast, right? So it doesn't have to be crazy expensive. It really depends on what you want to do and how much time you can put into it. So obviously, you're going to offset cost with your own investment of time. If you put in the time and you do the editing yourself and things like that, it's going to be less of a cash outlay, but you're going to be spending a lot more time on it. So I think that's really the deciding factor, but it does not have to be crazy expensive. In fact, I don't think podcasting is actually prohibitively expensive to get into at all. Dr. Tachi, what are your thoughts?
I 100% agree. It depends on what your goal is. You could really uh, jerry rig, I think that's the name of it, right? You could really potentially MacGyver the whole thing and have it out there because the thing is, just start where you are. You could even start with the phone you have and start your podcast on Anchor, and it would be basically completely free. And then as you want to move on to better and bigger equipment, go ahead and do that. So that's what I would say. I agree with you 100%, Tom. But then go ahead, if you just want to get started, start on Anchor with your phone. It's free. I released the mic. Sorry.
Dr. Tachi, no, you were fine, and great tips. I do believe, Professor T, low barrier of entry, writing, sharing your story, podcasting, it is a low barrier of entry, right? It's like starting. My dad's a landscaper. When he first started with his GI Bill back in the day, he got $600 when he left the army, and he used them to buy mowers and started a business that he later has 50 years later. So that low barrier of entry for anybody starting a business is something to really consider. So, producer Jimmy, did you have any thoughts on that? It being expensive?
You know, I this is why I love podcast. One of the millions of reasons why I love podcasting is that anybody can use it for literally any reason or any goal and in any way. And because there's a low barrier to entry, if you want to just kind of either test out the waters and see if podcasting is really for you, or if it's a budgeting issue, or whatever it is, if you need to have like zero budget or next to zero budget, you can get started. And so all you need is a good microphone. And congratulations, you probably already have one in the palm of your hand. Um, Cell phone mics have become really, really good. And even though I don't advocate for using your cell phone on an ongoing long term basis, but getting started, it's fine. It's perfectly fine. Then with hosting, there are different hosting companies, and they are either super, super cheap plans. You can get Libsyn as low as $5 a month, I think. Or you can go for something that is free, like Anchor. And so I'll say my constant Anchor caveat. Please submit the show yourself to the platforms. Do it manually to iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, because that way it's tied to your email address and you can see all the stats. Okay, I'm done. I'll get off the soapbox of Anchor. But yes, you can still start with a hosting account that's free. And then, of course, submitting to the platforms is always free, no matter what. So then it just becomes a matter of perhaps the last chip on the board is marketing and promoting of your podcast. And, you can start there for free too by promoting it yourself on social media. So you can absolutely start a podcast for $0. I think when I first started podcasting back in 2014, my total investment for episode 1 was about $20. And it was, well, 25 maybe once I added hosting, but $20. because that was all spent on the ridiculously awful stick mic that I bought at Best Buy. And the microphone I'm speaking into right now is way better, and it's my cell phone. But I started with that. It was a $20 stick mic from Best Buy, and a basic minimum hosting account at Libsyn, and I was on my way. And 7-8 years later, I'm still doing it. So you can get started with 0 to low cost as well. Thank you. I hope that helps. I'm complete.
Producer Jimmy, excellent. Tom, Dr. Tachi, thank you. You guys rock on this subject. Okay, Clubhouse, podcasting, publishing, and social media. We do this every Wednesday. We're going to meet a few more people. We did a thing called we turned hand raising off because we're not going to have 1,000 people on, because we try to get to everybody every week. We try, if you want to come up and ask a question, we try to get to you, but we also don't want to steal your whole day. So we are going to meet. Listen to this bio. I'm going to read this bio real quick. I'm good at that. I'm working on my. Okay, I push a button. You can push on people's face on Clubhouse, and then it goes into their bio. So I'm doing that right now. This is Michael Lozer. He is the author of Law of Attraction. And this is the mic drop here, besides for the many mic drops when he, like somebody told me the other day, when Michael speaks, you just sit up a little straighter. And
Yep.
because he drops so much knowledge. So it says author of Law of Attraction, 3.7 million copies in 37 languages. On Oprah, interviewed Michael 4 times. Then he hosted his own show on Oprah and Friends. So Michael, we always appreciate when you come and you drop so much knowledge. So where do you want to go? You can go there, my friend. Have at it.
Hey, well, good morning, everybody. Thank you. And I was only here for the last half hour, and a conversation came up earlier that I took notes about. So it's going to sound like it's an old conversation, but I think it's helpful. How about if podcasters were to format their podcast so it built their business and made sales? That's okay. My friend John and I were on episode 233. Listen, a little secret. It's not even a podcast. We go live on Facebook, and then we turn it into a podcast. We have 125,000 views, and we're not even interviewing anybody. And the format of that builds know, like, and trust. People get to know us, they get to like us, and they trust us. We go live on Saturdays, and all Saturday afternoon, both John and I are making sales from the episode that we just featured. And we never sell a thing. So, good future subject. How can you build your know, like, and trust? And how can you format say it's a 30-minute video. How can you put the face of a clock and say, insert this here at 12 minutes, and then you deliberately do something that helps build your business? Good. So that's what I wanted to share with everybody about it, and not just what you want to interview them, but what is the behind the scenes, and how can you stimulate interest in your product or product or service without really asking for that. Thanks for the opportunity to let me share that, everybody. Oh, by the way, I live in Canada. I'm on the West Coast on an island near Seattle and Vancouver. And I have an event here tomorrow morning if you're interested. It's on NLP, and it's how to detect the style of your prospect so you can match them right away. If you want the link for that, just give me a direct message. I'd love to help. Dominick and Tom, thanks for hosting another great room every Wednesday.
Thanks, Michael. Thanks for being here. And I just wanted to reemphasize, I put it up on the screen for anybody watching the live or anybody watching this video after the fact. Repackage and repurpose, repackage and repurpose, repackage and repurpose, repackage and repurpose. Turn your Facebook Live into a podcast, just like Michael does every week, right? And that's exactly what we're doing here. We're taking this Clubhouse room and we're broadcasting it across different platforms. We're going to create other content out of it. We are going to repackage and repurpose this room that we do every week so that we can have a bigger impact, so that we can spread value to more people, because that's the mission. That's the goal that we have. But just wanted to highlight that repackage and repurpose. I can't say it enough. I will repeat it until I am muted by Dominick.
I don't mute many people. Come on. Okay, now we have Tom. We're going to meet 3 more people today, so they can ask a question or drop a tip. We got Hoot, Hoot, Renee, and Queen Karen. Hoot, you are up. The mic is yours. I see a picture of Hoot. I'm not hearing Hoot, so we'll give Hoot the three.
Yeah, can you?
I'm getting a little back feed. Nope. Try now. One last time.
Yeah, can you hear me?
There you go. Give us a tip or ask a question. You got 30 seconds, my friend.
All right. Okay. There is no sound.
We can hear you. We can hear you. We can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Yeah, my question is different. So my question is to the Tom and Dr. Tachi. So it is my question. I'm an author of the children book. So I published a classic illustrated children book on Amazon KDP. But I have a big problem because I cannot upload my book to hard cover and hard cover. So because it is mentioned my book should be 74 pages, but my book is 22 pages. So what I'm going to do with it, because I have some audience from around of the world, they need hardback and what hard cover. So it is my question. I'm done.
Tom, I'll jump in on that, just on the publishing thing. One, I think Amazon does have some hardback capabilities, so you may want to just check into that. There are some other distributors out there that may have some hardback capabilities too. I wonder, do they really need a hardback? There are a lot of quality paperback books out there. So I'd get out, I would share your story, and I would not worry so much about, I have paperbacks, I have hardbacks. I don't ever remember anybody saying, Dominick, I love your hardback so much more. The only thing about my hardback is it costed me a lot more, and the bottom line was less. Michael, you agree with that?
Oh, absolutely. No one's ever told me about hardcover. I don't actually like hardcover because the jacket comes off and then you've got a blank book. So I say no to hardcover. Go directly to the soft cover.
There you go, Hoot. Okay, we're moving on. Let's go. We have Renee. I was hoping to meet Renee. Renee, let's see. Interesting. I read her bio earlier, and so I'm interested to talk to her. I was born legally blind, and I am visually. I love music, all genres. So, Renee, somebody overcoming challenges and obstacles, very inspiring. Thank you for being here. Thanks for finding our clubhouse today. What question could we answer for you, or is there a tip that you would like to share? And
can you
there
hear
you
me?
go. Yeah, we can hear you fine. Thank you, Renee.
I just wanted, I clicked on here because I was curious. I would like to do a podcast, and I want to incorporate, I've embraced my blindness, and I'm 58, and I've pretended I could see my entire life. And so I feel like I have a lot of things that I can encourage other people, no matter what it is, to, embrace it's your superpower. It's not a disability. It's an ability. And so that's the area that I wanted to move in. And like the whole first of all, thank you so much. It's been fascinating. I'm, excuse me, listening to every word. And then I have my screen reader. So I'm listening to you all, and then I have to listen to my screen reader, and I'm flicking around and I'm trying to follow. And so I move a little bit slower until I get acclimated. So that part is just me, the practice, test is kind of where I am with this. Thank you for this opportunity. That's really the main thing. I was just here to absorb and learn and get some courage to get out there. And that's what everybody's saying, jump out there and do it. And that's where I'm right here in the raw state. This is raw Renee right here.
There
So
you
anyway,
go.
this is
That's
all
perfect.
right.
Thanks Thanks for that, Renee. I mean, I just wanted to say, first of all, that I think you're going about this 100% the right way, right? I think I talked about this earlier in the room. I don't know if you were in the room yet, but I think, you know, it's all about authenticity, right? Create content that is authentic to you, and I think creating a podcast and talking about embracing. Embracing challenges and embracing, what you have, is a great way to do that, and it's going to read tremendously authentically to your audience, as it does, to all of us in this room right now. And yeah, so I appreciate that tremendously, and I think I encourage you to get started on that. And if you need help, definitely, feel free to reach out to me in the DMs. I don't want to volunteer for anybody else, but I think there's some other folks in this room that if you hit them up in the DMs, they'd be happy to have a conversation with you and get you started on a podcast. So don't be afraid to reach out, use that back channel, and grow your network and get the help you need. Ask for the help, and so that you can get started and share your story, because your story 100% matters to people out there, and they need to hear what you have to say. So don't hesitate, reach out, get the help you need, and go ahead and get started. We love having you here. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
that. Absolutely.
Thank
Absolutely. And we got our last person up here on stage we got to meet today is Queen Karen, right? So we got Queen Karen, just pulling up her profile here. Queen Karen, why don't you drop a tip, ask a question, share why you're here today? We would love to meet you. Thank you so much for having me in the space, and thank you, Professor T, for inviting me. I'm today just listening more than anything, because all of the things in this topic, and are of interest to me. So I'd like to just be able to come into the room and be a sponge, and also share the information that I found on the things that from the rooms and the Zoom that I do. But publishing is one of the things I'm interested in more than the rest for right now, for where I am. So I'm going to be in here trying to absorb as much as I can. I don't have any questions or any tips at this time, but I thank you so much for allowing me in this space. I'm Queen Karen G, and I'm complete for now.
Hey, Queen Karen, thank you for being here. And we're great, Tom. We're grateful. I know I'll speak for Tom, but we're grateful for everybody who stops through. You guys make it happen. But Queen Karen, anybody that wants to write a book, share your story like that, just start moving forward. Start taking little notes, put a notepad by your bed, put a notepad in the kitchen, dictate into your phone. Just keep sharing that story, building, follow your passion, and tell the story you want to tell. So that, and then it'll happen. Those thoughts become sentences, sentences become chapters, and before you know it, you have your first book. And like Tom said, man, that your story matters. Tom, dang, I felt that one. So that was great, man. You dropping it like it's hot. Michael, go on. Did you have something you were flashing there?
Yeah, well, I wanted to acknowledge you guys for getting the club set up and encourage everybody to go to the top, click on the club. They set it up to help us keep track of them. So if you follow the club, they're here every Wednesday morning, very consistent. And it's nice to get the little reminder. So go ahead, follow this podcasting publishing house. And these two guys, we can support them every week and bring some friends in.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, we Dominick led the charge with that, setting up the club and getting us all squared away with that. So please join the club so you get notified of this room every week. We're here every Wednesday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. I'm in New York, and Dominick is in Pennsylvania. We're both in the Eastern time zone, so it's 9:30 a.m. Eastern time every Wednesday morning. We usually stay on for anywhere between an hour and a half and 2 hours, depending on the room. So today it was actually a little over 2 hours. We're a little bit long for our weekly room, but I know I've got a couple of last thoughts I wanted to tie it down with, and then I'll hand it back to Dominick to close the room out. So one thing I just wanted to mention, I'm going to throw this up on screen for anybody watching online. We got a comment from David Upcycle Canada on YouTube, and he said, really appreciate your leadership with this room and bringing us the opportunity to see and hear, at the same time is gold, 5 gold stars. And I just wanted to say to David, just as a reminder, while one, I appreciate that sentiment, it's really not about me and it's not about Dom. It's about you guys. So this room we do this every week for you. We do this to provide value to you, to the audience, to the folks in here. And we're sharing it on other platforms so that more people can benefit from the incredible amount of accumulated wisdom that we get up here on stage with us every week in this room. So we appreciate all of you for being here every week. We appreciate you for supporting this space and for showing up time after time. And we look forward to riding this and seeing what it becomes. I've got big hopes for this. I think we're going to be able to have a huge impact with this space and with sharing this across multiple platforms, and in our own way, try to make the world a little bit of a better place. And that's what I'm here to do. So thank you all for being here every week. Appreciate it. Appreciate all of you. Appreciate your support, and look forward to seeing where this ride takes us. Dominick, why don't you go ahead and close us out for the week, my friend?
Absolutely. Thank you, Tom. When somebody nails it like that, there's nothing more that needs to be said. So thank you all for being here. I'm going to close this one. We're ending it as fast as I can push the button. So that's 3, 2, 1. Thanks, everybody. We appreciate you.
Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye-bye, everybody.